Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land. Magical, magical land. To another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land.
Today's guest is an international business leader and top executive with leadership position in brands like Intersport, IKEA and Douglas in several European countries. Please welcome to the show, Ulrike Spang Lessnow. Hello, Ulrike. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Jens, for having me. Very excited to be part of the podcast today.
It's a pleasure. It's really good to have a fellow German on the on the podcast and speaking in English, which is quite good.
Absolutely. So we will see how I will do.
Yeah. So before we go into all the retail and innovation and entrepreneurship topics, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What is your story?
Okay, well, so where do we start? I'm Ulrike. I'm 43 years old. And as you said, I'm a German. I was born and raised in Berlin. And actually, after my school education, I started right away into retail. And ever since, now 25 years, I lost my heart in retail. And actually, I started with an apprenticeship, becoming a businesswoman in retail trades in a very small sports shop. And then I continued my journey. Actually, I moved to a medium-sized retail chain. I started as a salesperson, became a store manager, a retail area manager. Actually, quite exciting. And then I moved on forward, so leaving the sport industry. So then I joined a big corporate in home furnishings and had a great career there, becoming a store manager, deputy retail manager, country CEO. And actually then I felt again, it's time to move on and to embrace a new sector. So this is then when I started into the beauty branch. Still retail, but more fast-moving consumer goods, different lifestyle assortment. And then I joined back to home furnishings again, and actually then starting on a global level and global assignment. Yeah, and then as life went on, I felt was 41, oh my God, now you have seen so much. It's time to get a little bit more substance. So I made an unusual step and I decided I should go back to university again, learning about new methodologies, new tools, and actually getting a broader or wider spectrum. And this is what I did. And I just finished off my executive master. And now it's time to move on again.
Congrats to that.
That's me in short.
I don't leave you from the hook. So that was all about professional career. Who are you as a person? Tell us a little bit who you are.
So who am I? I'm actually a quite optimistic, bright and warm-hearted person. I like to be surrounded by people. I need to have a team around me. I'm actually quite purpose-driven. I always need something big and meaningful in front of me. And actually enjoy doing the tricky stuff. So I get quite easily bored if it gets too easy or too smooth. I always need to have a challenge in front. This is when I really thrive and shine. And of course, I'm married. I have a fantastic husband. I'm married to Stefan. And we have already managed a lot and seen a lot. And I'm quite happy in the place I am right now.
Great. So you have started in retail in a sports store. What was it like going from school straight away into like a retail store?
Oh my God, I had no idea. So when I finished up school, of course, and then you have your whole career in front of you, the only thing that I knew that I could express myself is I want to do something with people. And actually, this is why I ended up becoming a businesswoman. And actually, I think I was lucky that I started off my career in a very small spot shop. So it was owner managed. And therefore, as the team was so small, I was urged to get to know every part of the business, from of course, selling stuff, but also purchasing stuff, doing the decoration, cleaning the windows, doing the cash line, doing the fulfillment, all of it. So I think that was for me, as I was a quite stubborn and strong young teenager, I think that was the best school for me to get the discipline, but also to get the freedom and to get the space doing and getting to know every part of the business.
Yeah, I love as well these parallels between the both of us, not just that we are Germans, as well that we are both started really from the scratch and learning on a day-to-day basis what it means to work in specific fields.
Absolutely.
That's always...
No, that was important to me, actually, because I remember that when I was young, I always had those big ideas. And even I was just 16, I wanted to have an own apartment. I wanted to drive car and actually embrace life. And therefore, I knew I had to work, I had to earn money. And therefore, I decided at this stage not to continue with university, to start right ahead with an apprenticeship. And I think as you are, I always enjoy doing stuff, being in the business. So for me, it was just the right decision. Yeah.
And it's also something that you will never lose. You always know when you work inside a field in an area, even if you work in a top management position, you know how it is to work in the store, in the front of the business and meet the customers on a daily basis.
And I think this is what I could see and where I could benefit on my entire career. You could say I really started on the shop floor. I really know how it is. And ever since, I never lost the connection to the shop floor and knowing, or to the customer. So, of course, nowadays, it's not just physical, the shop floor anymore, but getting to understand what your users are after and how your employees feel and what conditions you need to create that you have good business.
Yeah. So moving out of your story, going into today's world, we have met over the last couple of months a little bit in executive roundtable discussions or virtual roundtable discussions. And there was always a little bit the connections to innovation. So how do you see innovation? What does innovation mean for yourself?
So that's a very good question. What does it mean to me? So innovation itself is a very broad field. Yeah. But if I need to nail it down, I would say it's about creating something new. And this in a structured or sometimes even unstructured way. So it is making something that exists, whether better or different, or inventing something totally new. And therefore, I'm always quite sharp on, because people are sometimes overwhelmed by the word of innovation. Oh my God, I need to design a new rocket to fly to the moon. And to me, it is more about being innovative, innovating things. Yeah. And that has actually different layers to me. It starts off with the continuous improvement, making the things you have better and better. It's a progress. So ensuring that whether you or your business never standing still. So that's to me a first layer, a base layer of improvement. And then actually there is another dimension to me which adds on, which is the development. So enriching your business, complementing your business with something that is probably new to you or your company, but that exists already somewhere in the industry or in another industry. And then, of course, that is important as well, because you need to keep up with the developments in the market. So it's not enough to just improve the things you do and think you will survive. So you always need to ensure to develop, so to make leapfrogs, to really keep up with the developments in the market. And then to me, there is another dimension, which is equally important, but not so easy to crack. This is the being truly innovative. What is it that actually is not there yet, that will create value for my consumers, that makes me a first mover in a market, that makes me successful? And I think what is so important, though, that the things that are very innovative today are the new standard tomorrow. Yeah. So even if someone else, let's say a competitor, does something very innovative, and you think, wow, you need to be on your toes already to be ready to implement it when your consumers think, oh, that's a new standard. This is not something we expect from everyone. So as you see, to me, innovation has many different aspects, going from improvement to development to innovating things.
Yeah, love that. It gives us a really huge breadth as well to dive into details. And
yeah,
unfortunately, we didn't record the pre-discussion we have had because it was in German. But I would like to get two perspectives. So one is like, how could this work in a lockdown situation on a daily basis? And we can focus on retail. And then zooming out, how could this look like from a large corporation, like a world player? How could you use innovation on completely different perspectives? So let's dive into something which is real. There are a lot of retailers, stores, let's say physical stores in city centers who needed to lock down. How can they use innovation? How can they think differently in their daily work, basically?
Yeah, first probably is about you have to accept the situation as it is. And then secondly, you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision that you want to change something. And I think when you're at this stage, then you need to open up and look around, look beyond your obvious business model to see what is out there. What can I learn? What can I copy? What can I just try out? And let's say you're a small spot shop, just physical. You have no digital presence. And of course, you're in deep shit nowadays because you're not allowed to open your store. Yeah. So I think there is so many easy ways you could do today without any big investment. So if you still want to distribute your goods, or at least staying in connection, having a relation with your customers, you just open an Instagram account and you make photos from your products. You call them outfit of the day. You make short Instagram stories where you just, let's say, make a video of your shop and you tell the story about who you are, what you do, and what you offer. Yeah. And then actually people can just through this channel, if you take Instagram as one, connect with you. Just say, hey, fine, please put that jacket into a bag. I'm coming, picking it up. So there is a lot of things, if you have accepted the situation, if you're willing to do something where even at no cost, you can use infrastructure that is there today to at least go out and do something. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, if you understand in today's world, it's a very bad idea in retail to just have only physical presence. You anyhow need to grow that part, whether if it is social commerce, live commerce, or at least having a digital presence at all, like an online shop, so people can shop with you 24/7.
What are
and
the
there
things?
Are so many. Yeah, sorry.
What are
just
the things?
To say there's.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's so many good solutions today that you can buy off the shelf. You know, doing an online shop. You have even an academy with Amazon where you could partner up. You don't need to do it all yourself.
Absolutely.
Where it's corporations that help you to actually build your business.
So what do you think holds smaller retailers back and not being online?
Yeah, actually, I think there is different parts probably. There is not an easy answer to it. So if I would need to generalize, I think often it is fear. You know, fear of being honest to yourself, coming out of denial and accepting that the world has changed. Mm-hmm. And even though you're as a person or as a business owner under deep pressure to develop this willingness to change something, so to truly have this urge and say, now I go into unknown territory. I tried out and I'm okay to fail because doing nothing would be the worst option. And I think there's a lot into mindset and probably also something like in culture. How open am I to really connect, to ask for help? How am I? How's my character? I'm at ease with failure. I am creative. Do I know where to get information from? So I think if you want to be a retailer also in the future, there is no way around that you need to open up and you need to show and to operate beyond your obvious barriers.
Yeah. Then before we recorded, you mentioned like there are opportunities for partnering as well in different ways you would normally not even do. Let's say if you're a sports shop, you could partner with other partners around your surroundings. Can you give examples on that?
Yeah, I think that in London, for example, there are several streets where you actually, the business owners of the street collaborated like a community. And then maybe you have the High Street or Sampson Street Facebook page, or you have a channel that you do together. And then actually it's easier sometimes if you can't motivate yourself, or if you need a buddy on your side. I would always recommend partner up. And there is no unusual connections today. You even see the big companies, as Gucci is partnering up with North Face. Yeah. IKEA is partnering up with Virgil Abloh or with Sonos. So there is many examples. And even if you're a sports shop, you can partner up with the flower shop or with the bakery close to you.
Yeah, and I think
it's the time to be creative.
Absolutely, and that are the not obvious connection, the things where you see maybe it's the butcher which is partnering with the shoe shop, which is completely out of the ordinary, but exactly that will drive people and value to your customers in a completely different way than it would normally do. And I think that's as well an opportunity, like you said, have the local village Facebook group, which is commerce Facebook group, which can be one online store for everyone in the local area or whatever. I think there's tremendous opportunities.
And I think in today's world in retail, you see that people are after curated content. It's what we call when there is a theme packed together for an individual. Yeah. Where you say that content makes sense to me, is surprising, is delightful. Yeah. And what a chance also for those smaller communities to say, hey, here we have a theme. The Sampson Street creates the Valentine's Day offer. Yeah. And then you have the flower shop together with the shoe shop, together with the bakery, whatever, to have a curated offer. And that's then content where people can relate to, they know the people behind, it's local, and it's so much more than just selling and distributing stuff.
Absolutely. So now we're zooming out again and looking into, you are now a big corporation, at least on a country level, you have a couple of stores, you're a retailer. How could a retailer who is slightly bigger than the local retailer approach innovation in a different way they normally would think of, and connecting it still to a lockdown perspective?
Yeah, so I think if you're a little bit bigger, you're not on yourself or on your own, and you have more people and probably bigger muscles to come through a situation. I think it's wonderful if you have the community also within your company. So I would recommend also medium-sized companies to use the collective intelligence to really utilize the entire human resource and human capital they have. And that's often forgotten, because then you have an isolated department, or it's just for some precious smart people that should do innovation. And here I come back to my staircase model. I do believe it is essential that you include all of your workforce into being innovative, making things better. So, of course, you could ask everyone to participate. What can we do to improve the current situation? What can we do to make the running business better? So maybe all shops could open if you're a small chain and offering the same solution. So maybe you can have common ways of working and you scale that through your portfolio. Yeah. And then, of course, you can be quite inclusive, saying maybe you have special themes where coworkers can engage in and say, here, I have a smart idea. Or you can have councils that look abroad and scan the landscape and saying, this is what we have seen, a good example in Turkey, a good example, I don't know, even in another industry where I think this could add value to us. So I would say it is important first to understand the need to constantly progress and improve and breathe your business. And secondly, utilize all capabilities you have, meaning the entire workforce. Don't make it an isolated, exclusive thing. Of course, there are different stages. Not everyone can invent a rocket, but everyone can see what is important for our customers.
Yeah. So why do you think that's not happening? Because I have basically a couple of customers in my coaching business where I see it's not there yet.
Yeah.
In a lot of, especially the mid-sized companies, maybe they have been too successful or whatever. I don't know. What do you think? Why it's not happening on scale?
So my previous answer before COVID would have been that many businesses still yet think we are untouchable. It's still good enough. We're still earning money. And where it's the easiest, blaming someone else instead of finding also the weak points within your own business. And we all have that. So people would rather say, oh, it's the online. Oh, it's Amazon. It's Alibaba. They are killing us. So, and this is what I often heard. I'm okay. You're not okay. So it's this threat like in the outside world. And I have no possibility to do something against it. So whether I'm scared because I truly don't know what to do, I see myself as a victim, or even worse, I'm arrogant. I'm thinking I will survive that. The others will go away. I'm still good enough.
Yeah.
Not even looking what is out there that could threaten my business. And then one day, one night, you will just be gone because the market is faster than you are. Yeah, so whether arrogancy or being scared or actually having different opinions. And I think that it often starts with that if you lead a business, you and your management teams throughout all levels need to have a common understanding why change is needed. Yeah. And you need to have a common understanding what is happening in the market, good and bad. What are the opportunities? What are the threats? Where are we strong? Where are we weak? And you need to be able to put that picture. And if you start with a simple SWOT analysis, you need to be able to put that together and then to draw conclusions, being clear, what are my key opportunities here and what are my key threats? So where do I need to work on? Yeah. And then you need to have a common direction. And I think in many companies, you have between owner and managing director, you have different ideas. And it's bad if your board doesn't speak the same language as let's say, the management in charge. So it's very important to create a common ground and to start from a common understanding.
That sounds a little bit, for me at least, towards like entrepreneurship and empowerment in your own organization.
Yeah.
How do you see the importance? I mean, we both have learned it from the scratch, like you need to be an entrepreneur inside even large organizations. How do you see that entrepreneurial and entrepreneur movement inside of large organizations and the importance of it, or not?
It differs. So it all starts with the company culture. So do you have a culture that wants people to participate, that values different opinions? If you have that, that makes many things much easier because it also helps you to engage your workforce, to be part of something, to believe in something bigger, to be active. Or maybe you're working in a very directive, old school ecosystem where it's much harder when management believes they have the decision power and they have the power to shape, and where you have probably a culture where you think, workforce is just there to execute stuff. So I would always say in today's world, you should, and also for tomorrow's world, you need to be ready to actually get help. You can't solve everything yourself. So I would strongly recommend to foster a culture where people are invited to take part and where you also hand over responsibilities. So I believe that often it fails because it seems to be something exclusive. Or if the distance between management and employees is just too big,
Oh yeah.
You end up in those things. They know better. I will wait. There comes another manager. Oh my God, why should I care? I'm just waiting for my paycheck. And of course, it's very hard to really accelerate a business with that kind of prerequisites, if I could say so.
Yeah. Innovation always means learning from failures, at least for me, and trying things in a different way, like you said as well. So I always go into the perspective of, because when we are talking, then of course it always sounds amazing and everything is super good, but of course it's not. Yeah. So what are different failures? What are different things you learned from over your career? And maybe going as well to the different perspective, what you learned from failures inside the retail store, and as well from being in a global corporations.
Wow. So where do I start? So of course, if I go back many years, when I was a store manager, you feel the pain right away. So if you mess up with something, you have to do it. And still, if your organizational size, say in this small sports shop where I started off, you see every failure and you are held accountable and you need to solve the shit. And then when I became store manager in a sports shop, then you have a team of 20 people, you can control everything, you see it, and you have to work with it. Yeah. Same was when I became store manager for a bigger organization where you have 500 people. So you still need to get things going. And maybe you don't see immediately the impact of the thing you did wrong, but you see it will come up anyhow, or people will tell you. And then actually, when I moved to a national level, then the perspective changed, because then you develop something or you take it from a corporate level and you are responsible to deploy it in an entire organization. Yeah. And what I learned, that every store, for example, or every business unit is different. Yeah. Has its different stages, has its different problems. So one has probably too little headcount, the other one is stressed with turnover, the other one is missing talent. So it's important then to see how can I tailor-make my solution. And this is probably on a national level when I really started to realize one size doesn't fit all anymore. Yeah. And you need to actually balance your activities. And where also was sometimes even confronted with the vast amount of changes. And then you need to deal with it to implement it everywhere. Or how hard it is to really have an equal performance. It's still something, sometimes I get angry about it when people tell me today, we are working with the basics. And then I'm thinking, having the basics in place today is a hygiene factor. Yeah. We can't work years and years with just fixing the basics. But actually, it's one important part, because it takes a lot of effort to take the everyday operations on a smooth level. And it's actually hard work. What do you prioritize? Whether the everyday performance, the development, which comes on top, there is new systems, new processes, new products that you need to deploy. And how hard it is actually, depending on how big your organization is, to make everyone understand what is the added value, why should we do it. And actually, I think the biggest thing in innovation is sometimes not to come up with a good idea. It's about implementing it into the business and making it a new norm, a new common standard. Yeah. And that actually was then accelerated on a global level, because then it's not even within a country, within an ecosystem where probably you even have the same cultural barriers and ideas. It's different if you have it on a global level, because then not only the store is different and the business unit situation, every country is different. Every region has its specialities. And so it's an even bigger challenge to actually take care. And this is then where I started to understand, again, one size doesn't fit all, and you need to allow and have different approaches. And then the second time, this was then the biggest learning, coming back to the part that I said before, utilizing all your human resources you have, your whole collective intelligence. So don't trap or fall into the trap. I need to know it all. I sit on a global level. No, you need to allow localization. People know better what is my local taste. How do I need to shape or adapt a certain thing to make it successful? And also seeing the beauty in actually getting to know all those great ideas and talents. So on a global level, you need to give a framework. You need to give a platform where people can shine and actually change and exchange their good ideas.
Yeah.
That brings me to another thing, good ideas, actually. I think often probably things fail because we want to reinvent the wheel again and again and again. And there are already so many solutions out there. And actually, the bigger the organization gets, the bigger the challenge actually is to share what is already out there.
Yeah.
So that you can say, I utilize my strengths into something that really leverages the business. We prioritize something instead of reinventing everything everywhere again and again, which makes you slow.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's interesting to see that as well from a practical aspect. I would like to dive into one specific retail topic, which I see even today in today's world. So when I'm coaching people, it's always about like you need to focus on the needs, dreams, and desires of your customers, and you need to provide them value.
Yeah.
It's not about what you want to sell; it's what they want to buy or what value.
Yes.
And it's still the case that I see it over and over again that companies are not focusing on their customers. They're trying to push their agenda through and not listening. What is your perspective of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's still true in many cases. I think when I started off in retail had the task to distribute goods to consumers, and suppliers actually made the market by developing products, put a great price tag on it, and pumping the volume into the market, and people just absorbed it. And the better your brand was, the better known, the better presence you had, the more successful you have been. And I think that retail since then has fundamentally shifted.
Yeah.
So today you even see consumers becoming brands. Everyone is now selling everything in a secondhand market. We all have not all, but many people have their YouTube channel or actually sharing content on Instagram or elsewhere. So I think that it has totally shifted. Today, it's the consumer in charge. And this is because we can buy anything we dream of anywhere in the world, and we can have it delivered to your doorstep within a day. So nothing is impossible. So we are not dependent on a single supplier or distributor to make things come true. Yeah. And I think we have the power as consumers today. And this is why we understand retail not as retail anymore. We even don't think about, we want to consume content that is relevant to us. So we don't just want to buy products, we want to know brands, we want to understand what is behind, we want to get a great inside story, and we want to build human relations. So, and if you still think, oh my God, I'm just selling stuff, I think you're selling out yourself out of the business. So many, many years, I've been myself in companies where we said, oh yeah, customer first. But we did not truly mean it, or at least we started it half-hearted. So I know how difficult it is and how much power and time and breeze it takes to really re-engineer your business. To say it goes from a pull to a push or vice versa. So to really turn the perspective around. It is a huge change also in mind shift throughout all levels of your organization to get that true. Yeah. But yeah, it is about building relations today where the main purpose is not selling anymore. Because we all know if we got advertisement which is too pushy, we just swipe into another direction and let it go. So I think it is time, if you have not understood yet, to accept the fact that the consumer is in charge. And you need, as you said before, Jens, you need to find out. I think Doug Stevens said it so nice in a podcast that I just heard a couple of days ago. What is your unique answer to a customer problem? And if you have no unique answer to it, your value is probably not of relevance.
Yeah, I fully agree. So it's interesting to see these patterns again and again. So what would you recommend? Let's say if we take a local example again, what would you recommend to a local company, which is maybe having a couple of stores or one store only, to change that perspective, to rethink how they could do business?
Yeah, I would probably say first start again with, of course, in the end, you need to sell something in order to survive. Yeah. That's clear. This is your business about. But the way getting there is much different today. The customer journey is not linear. Oh, I have a need. Oh, I find someone that serves that need. Oh, I pick it up from them. So it's all about understanding that you need to build relations. And nowadays, through technology to social media, it is easy to maintain relations. Even if you're a very, very small company, you could start very, very small with a WhatsApp group. You can open for free an Instagram channel. So it's all about getting content in contact with your audience. You know, in the past, we had those loyalty programs where stores even had those little cards where they put the name of their customers in and their birthday. And if you still have that, fantastic. Send them a text if your customer has a birthday, or send them a picture through WhatsApp if you know, oh, Jens is into black sweaties. You know, now I'm sending him a picture if a new black jumper comes in. Yeah. Whatever. I think everyone on the smallest level has opportunities today. There is no excuse to maintain a relation. And then, of course, this relation can be scaled in any way. But even if you're not Amazon and you don't have artificial intelligence, you hopefully have a heart and a passion for connecting and selling to people. So here you are. I would say it is not that rocket science. You just need and want to connect with your audience.
Yeah. Then the other day we discussed a little bit about global organizations, and that it's always people in large organizations, they always think they need to be perfect. If they're on Facebook, if they're on LinkedIn, if they're wherever publicly, they need to be 100% perfect. And you have had a specific opinion on that. Can you repeat that and explain a bit your thoughts around that?
Yes, so I think that we once discussed about it. I believe that today brands become very personal, and that it is important that we as humans can relate to someone that we feel is not fake, someone that we feel is real, that shares the same struggles and the same joys as we are. And therefore you see, for example, if you take big corporates, of course they have corporate channels that are super duper and clean and very well texted, you know, and probably depending on your brand value, you should have that. But then you also see that often those brands have actually also that the CEO has a personal side, which I would recommend as well. So you give this big brand, you give it a personal taste. And there, then I would recommend that you're authentic, that you come just right away as we are, you know, uncovered, and you just say the things how they are. Speak the truth. And this is what consumers actually request today, that they understand what is behind the scenes, what is behind the curtains. Yeah. Not only because of sustainability reasons that we want to know where do we spend our money in, with whom do we engage with, what are we part of, we also want to see the personal face. This is part of our human nature. So I think it's very important, if you're responsible for a big corporation or for a small one, allow yourself to be the face that speaks to the audience. And then it's not enough just to have the one-way communication. So let's say I would share a video about my great ideas every day. It's also about to allow an interaction. And you see it especially throughout social media today, that consumers want to have a prompt answer. So it's not okay, let's say they have a complaint and they send a text to Facebook, that you allow yourself to have 48 hours no answer. So people expect today, because of our digital lifestyle, to have a prompt answer.
Absolutely.
So we are also seeking for conversations and two-way communication.
Yeah. I love that. I could spend like a couple of days more on this topic together with you, but slowly getting towards an end. So
Yes.
I have a common question, which I'm always asking in different ways. So if you could work with the passion project, and a passion project that will be felt, seen, heard, listened to around the whole globe, what passion project would it be, and why?
Oh my God!
That's an easy question.
I think, yeah, of course, it's easy. It's answered within a minute. I'm still so much passionate about how people live and how we will live in the future. So I would love to be part also about urbanization 3.0, where you see there's so many progress and development right now. How will our cities look like in 10 years from now? So what kind of preconditions do we need to build that every citizen and every human feels well and appreciated in terms of health, in terms of having space where you can be yourself? So that would be something very exciting. Imagine we could be part of something. How does New York look like 2030 or so? Yeah. Even more Highline Parks. So that would be just something that probably will give me a lot of joy, because it mixes all parts that I'm interested in. How people live, how do we shop, how do we engage, how is our spare time looking like, etc. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I would love to be a part of that as well. Where will you be in a year from now? And you can answer that in different ways, like either from a personal perspective, from a mindset perspective, from a professional perspective, whatever you would like to dive into. So in a year from now, where will you be?
So where will I be? Actually, I learned something throughout this past year, and therefore the answer will be a little bit longer. I have never really taken care of a wide network. I was always part of networks, but actually quite close networks around your company or the common way. And what I learned throughout the last year, how enriching it is to go beyond the obvious and actually to talk to people in other categories, in other industries, just exchange of thought and seeing the value in it and how rich it makes you to learn more. Also through the study, it is so enriching to just push yourself and to never stop being curious and learning new things. So I do hope in a year from now, this is really something that's close to my heart, that I will foster a network where I could contribute, but where I could also be part of a bigger movement, helping people to see from different angles, but also for myself, learning from different perspectives. So hopefully a wide network where we all, push ourselves to do better and help with all those big problems we face in our world to actually take our part.
That's cool. Yeah. How do you keep yourself up to date? What are the different resources you're looking at? Books, blogs, podcasts, whatever, just to keep up with what's going on in these times?
Yeah, so, oh my God, there's so much information. We all know everything is available. But actually, I get a lot of, because I now have subscribed to many people I admire on LinkedIn. So you get firsthand information, whether it is from companies or from leaders. So I think this is a good starter to me to just kickstart. So this is where I'm regularly and get my business content. Yeah. But then actually it is also through books. So I have got to know now through my study in interesting new methodologies and also professors that do science in certain directions. But then it's also like consultancies usually have great insights and studies that comes once a year that help you to find out, is there a certain area where you want to know more, like Fjord, you know very well, the Fjord trends, or think about McKinsey or other big consultancies that actually have the muscles and do a lot of work for all of us, the ordinary people. And actually there's a lot of valuable insights. And then I'm actually also quite active into the companies I'm interested in. I follow their publications or seeing what is on their website, where they are. Social media, of course. And then very classical, like Harvard Business Review. It's always a source of, if you think leadership and business, bringing stuff together. Yeah, but mostly online. It's very hard to read a paper so nowadays on my magazine. So
true.
No, but have a wide portfolio. That's important.
How can people reach out to you? How can people find you online or offline?
So the easiest is just drop me a line through LinkedIn, and I think it's fantastic because it's close by, and so I would say that's a good entry point. Starting a conversation.
Super. Thank you very much for being on the show.
So my last name
Ulrike.
is a little bit complicated, but I'm sure you will put that.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Jens, for having me.
Thank you very much, and see you.
Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical land, magical land. To another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical land.